The MCU officially has its first Academy Awards. Plus, what universe are you in? But because there's one that has a brand new alternate cut of SpiderVerse, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes, is this Dark Phoenix going to be the one we've all waited for? Let's talk about the new trailer and more on today's Marvel Movie News.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Good afternoon, Merry Marvelites! Welcome back to Popcorn Talk and Marvel Movie News. We are coming to you live from the Super Collider. Because we're talking about SpiderVerse, so
Nice.
we're in the Super Collider.
Nice.
I've watched it now twice this week, and I'll get into why I've watched SpiderVerse multiple times in a week.
I don't even know that you need a reason, but it'll be interesting
That's
to hear
true.
what the
That's
reasons
fair.
are. Yeah.
Guys, welcome back. It's the end of February, although it feels like we just started this month.
Feels like we just started this year.
Yeah. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Zach Wilson. I'm joined, as always, by my fabulous panel, Xia Anderson,
Hi, guys. Really
And-
excited to be here always.
Christian Bladt.
Howdy, partners. Just trying to mix it up.
I like
I
it.
don't think it worked.
Go for it. No, lean into it. I say lean into
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
We are joined by Marissa, our
Hello.
our
There you
Cree
go.
in the booth, and we got Colt Bedeau helping us out on Twitter from the Star Jammer. Thank you, Colt, as always. Follow the podcast at Marvel News PTN. Subscribe, like, follow, subscribe, all those. Leave a review, leave a comment, all those things. Hit that thumbs up button. You guys know what to do. Let's dive in to the big news. Roll out the red carpet for this one, guys, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe has its first Academy Awards.
Woo!
Do you guys watch it live?
I did not.
I watched it on DVR, so like most of it was, I caught up and eventually it was live. But yeah, so, I watched it that night.
Yeah, I actually watched a bunch of it live. I had to pause it, I just paused the last 30 minutes because I had to record my other podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And then finished it up. But it was cool to see Black Panther won three Oscars.
Yes.
3.
Which I wanted them all to win. I didn't think it had a shot. Because I guess in my mind I was just even though I know it deserves it, obviously, I didn't think that the Academy would go for a Marvel movie after
Neither did
all
I,
this stuff.
honestly.
And while it didn't pull Best Picture, Academy, you're on notice. Black Panther did win for production design, costume design, and score.
I mean, 3 very deserving areas
Yeah.
that that film excelled in. Look, I think we all would have been like, how amazed would we have been if it had won Best Picture? But I don't think that that was ever really going to happen, because even a great superhero movie, at the end of the day, they're like, that's a superhero movie, and that's a no.
I was hoping that because this was such a off year where there was no favorite
Right,
to
that's
win.
true.
per
Not even the
se.
favorite.
Not even the favorite.
Thank you.
Nice.
Well played. Well
Nice.
played. I thought it might squeak in as
Yeah.
all the other 6 nominees got divided the votes, and then Black Panther just somehow snuck in there.
Hey, why not? Just
but
because it's
was-
a Marvel movie doesn't mean it's not a great movie.
Oh, it is a great movie.
It's so good.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, we're just
Yeah.
thinking of the people who vote for
No,
Academy
I
Awards.
know.
Yeah.
But they did recognize Black Panther, which is great.
No, that's amazing. And you're right. Production design, the costume design was amazing. And I
Yeah.
love the score. So I'm happy it at least got something. And
Yeah.
3.
And it was, I believe, that because 2 of those winners were African American women, I might be a little bit off on this number, but I believe it technically tripled, either doubled or tripled the amount of African American women who have won Academy Awards to date in
It's
one night.
Horrible, because that's so sad that's the number.
Yeah.
Really. But also it's great because it's finally starting to happen. But it's a
well,
weird.
I think it was in above the line, non-acting awards.
Behind the scenes more.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
think what'll be great is when you're not able to give any of those kind of stats, because it's it happens all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it just becomes a
but
normal
the
thing.
fact that you can still give any kind of stat is like, yeah, it obviously doesn't happen that often.
Yeah. No, it was great to see. There was a couple great Marvel moments that I know, Christian, you made note of.
Yes.
Samuel Jackson and Brie Larson presented an award together, and like
Amazing.
They had just like, they clearly just enjoy each other as people.
Yes.
And that honestly, them in that moment did just as much to get me hyped for Captain Marvel as almost any of the trailers did.
Because you get to see their on-screen charisma that they're
Yeah.
gonna have.
Yeah.
So like it gets you hyped for it. Yeah, definitely.
No, it looked great. And of course, Best Animated Feature went without a doubt to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Very, very rarely does the Academy make what I think is the right decision. But for me, it's just, obviously we loved it because we love Spider-Man, but it's such a unique film. And the other ones, look, those are good movies, but it's like, we've already seen a Wreck-It Ralph. We've already seen an Incredibles. And I don't know, I mean, I didn't see the other nominees. But those two in particular, you thought like, oh, those are probably what's going to win. And like, they realized like, this is such a unique film. We have to. And I don't know, I was really glad. That was the most exciting moment all night, I would say, for me personally.
Oh, yeah. And I want to talk more about Into the Spider-Verse. Before I do, I want to tease something coming up at the end of the show. We are going to be doing, again, and it's going to be, and once we get to it, I'll explain all of what's going to be. But we are introducing our weekly Q&A segment. We are going to be doing questions from you guys in the chat, and going forward, submitted to us via email and Twitter and stuff every week. So you guys can send in whatever you want to know about. If we didn't have time for it, we'll make sure that we have time to get to your questions. So start thinking of those, and Christian will be keeping an eye on the chat to help collect those over the course of the episode, but mostly at the end so he can actually talk.
Right. And back to Spider-Verse and the Oscars really quick. They cut the mic literally as they were going to thank Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
I saw that.
Is that what they...
That's what he was saying, and they had cut the guy's mic.
I was annoyed that they cut them off. I think mainly it wasn't that they were going over time, but they do have rules about how many people can talk.
People, yeah.
And they so it was when another person came to the mic. Like a lot of these award shows like have rules about like only one person can talk in this category or only two people can talk in this category, is a way to control, because that time of switching to people wastes screen time. And the Oscars this year was obviously very concerned about their airtime.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it why they have the rules, but really right before the thanking Stan Lee and Steve
Well,
Ditko.
they didn't
Come
know.
on. No, they
just-
knew.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just angry.
But let's talk about Spider-Verse, because it came out on digital this week, you guys, and I bought it on digital, and I've been watching Spider-Verse stuff all week. It came out on Tuesday or Monday late at night, depending on what your sleep schedule
So
was
Monday
like.
late at night for Zach.
Yes.
Yeah.
West Coast time, it came up. It was I was available at like 10.
Oh, that's great.
But so I watched the movie again just because I had to. But then I started diving into all the special features, and there's a ton of really cool stuff that like you expect to find. There's some like lyric music videos they did, like the Sunflower music video. If you haven't seen it, it's already been out there, but it's really cool, so you can check it out if you download it. There's an Easter egg video where they walk you through like a lot of the little Easter eggs that are in there, some of which you would never know of because they're like just about the filmmakers and like their family, throwing family things like in graffiti tags and everything. Laura Miller talked at one point about the Clone College poster that's in the back of the scene where Gwen comes in.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I've talked to you guys about that before. I get so excited when I see it because Clone High is one of my all-time favorite shows. And I didn't actually know that it was originally in Clone College in their original concept.
I didn't even think I realized that either.
That's what they talked
Never
about in
knew.
one of the special
Great.
features. But the big special feature, and I haven't even gotten through all of them. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to the feature commentary and all that stuff. The big one is on there is an alternate, they call it the alternate universe cut of Spider-Verse. And it's about 2 hours, 25 minutes long. So it's adding in about 25 minutes of content.
Awesome.
On top of like the original cut. But it's not just additional footage or like, hey, we threw in some deleted scenes. It's actually a different cut of the movie. There are, so like the big example, like Genki, who, if you're not familiar with the Miles in the comics, Genki is Miles' roommate, his best friend. You see him in the movie with the headphones. He doesn't talk, but he is a character in the movie. in this. He has lines. He is like the spider bite happens in a different place. Genki is present for the spider bite. It's like a slap. The spider shows up and it's like a slap fight between the two of them. Oh, there's a spider. Oh, there's... and it's like bouncing back and forth between Genki and Miles, and then it bites Miles, and then Genki helps like train Miles to be Spider-Man by watching like an in-universe Spider-Man movie that exists.
That's so cool.
That they made like with the Chris Pine Peter Parker. It's really cool. A lot of those scenes are just animatic, so they're just pencil drawings and stuff with some voiceover that's not even from the cast. It's just like animators, whoever was doing like placement dialogue. But so you have to know that you're getting into a unique viewing experience, but it's really cool. And like that's not even all of it. There's tons of extra scenes. Some are more developed than others. There's a scene that I know from talking to people was in some of the test screenings that got taken out. Kingpin in the speech outside right after Peter Parker dies, where Mary Jane is talking. After that, Kingpin talks at that moment, and he has a whole speech that they removed from the film, and I think it was smart to do it because it gives him more gravitas when he does it later on at the benefit dinner, instead of him having two speeches that are awkwardly around the pro Spider-Man stuff.
Right.
But it's really cool. I highly recommend if you like seeing differences between script to screen and just like the evolution of a film. This is perfect for that thing. As a writer, I found it fascinating.
Right, from how they go from what they originally decided or had written out to what you ultimately get to.
Yeah, like
so cool.
It's clear that they were like trying to be more faithful to the comic book version of Miles at first, like because of like Genki, like
right.
That's like that dynamic is a huge part of the Miles Morales story, but they're saving that. But it worked in the movie. But they tried it. They got far with it. It's really cool.
Oh man, that's awesome.
What were the other moments that I wrote down that I wanted to tell you guys about? There was a reference to Iron Man.
What?
In it from Miles' parents in a scene that got cut. They're like she's like his mom is making some dish for the dad at one point. It's like it's Iron Man's favorite was one of them said. And like I don't know if Disney made them cut that or the whole scene got cut, but like that's the only reference to any other MCU like Marvel character outside of Spider-Man lore. Which that part, like the business side of me was like, I wonder why they cut that out. That's so cool.
Well, does it matter because it's an animated film? But if it's within a film, does that matter?
Legally, who knows?
There's so many different.
It's Sony. Sony and Disney now have a working relationship, so they may be okay with that kind of thing. Who knows? That all off the table. It was really cool. And the other joke that I really loved that was in there was that because there's that scene that's in the trailers where Peter's like explaining like this fry is your universe. It's soggy, it's gross, it's weird. This good, tasty, crispy fry is my universe. That scene has a little bit more to it, and he's like, "Come on, we're gonna go, and we're gonna get me home." I call it Spider-Man Homegoing.
Nice.
I like that a lot.
That's amazing.
That's funny.
And like so. Check it out, guys. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, and it comes out in 3 weeks, I think
it's
on
the 19th
Blu-ray,
on Blu-ray,
but
yeah.
it's available on Vudu and iTunes and all of those platforms. And it comes with all the bonus features.
Right.
So, do you know if it's going to be the same bonus features when you get the physical copy?
Should be.
Okay.
It's possible that there was one thing in the alternate cut where like Lord Miller like talked to you and introduced it, and then they wrap it out at the end, and they seemed to imply that there was stuff if you have to like squirrel around on the DVD to find things. It's been years since I feel like anyone truly buried Easter eggs like into
been a while,
DVD menus because they know most people don't even buy those.
Right.
But when I get my copy of the hard disc,
I was going to say I'll be getting it in 3 weeks, so I'll let you know.
I did the Vudu disc to digital thing, which I forget who it was. Somebody on Twitter was like reminded me that was a thing because it doesn't exist for Disney movies, but you can buy it on Vudu, and then they send you the movie later.
Oh wow!
So I bought it.
Cool.
I have it on digital, but the the Blu-ray or the 4K, whatever, will arrive for me in like 3 weeks after it releases.
Zach, you're on top of this.
Yeah,
I got to watch my SpiderVerse.
Seriously,
but yeah, check it out. Now I'll listen to the feature commentary at some point and let you guys know what I find from that. All right. Let's talk about Dark Phoenix.
Let's do it.
They released their first full-length trailer this week and some posters as well. Let's talk about the posters first. And let's just take a look at we've got, I wonder if they're going to call her Phoenix at one point, even for a moment.
Yeah, before there's a dark aspect of it. Is she?
Because like if we look at this poster where it's clearly split in two,
yeah,
like you have that classic yellow, like X-Men look, and then they have the dark Phoenix look.
Right, and then if you look at the dark half for those on YouTube, obviously you can see that's like, oh, Magneto's on that side, and you know all these other nefarious things. But her friends are on the left as we look at
Who
it.
is that in the upper right?
I was just trying
Is
to
that
figure that out.
Beast?
It's not, it doesn't quite look like Beast because he looks a little too mean to be Beast. And I was trying to figure out who that was as well.
It does look like Beast, though.
It looks like him, right? So maybe
Does
something
Beast go
happens.
over to the dark side?
I don't know. Maybe something happens to him.
I mean,
although is that him there on the left? You know, by Raven.
I'm gonna zoom in.
No, I think that's
I'm gonna zoom in
Nightcrawler.
enhance on my computer. That. Oh, you know, it could be.
Tell us in the chat if you have a theory for who that is.
Beast is nowhere else on this poster, so that's got to be Beast. Because in the
it's
on the
probably
left side is
Nightcrawler over there.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And in the upper right, I think that's Beast. So,
Oh,
look out! I mean, look, Beast
What
has
happens to Hank?
Beast has a long history of like doing questionable things, and like especially like when he like thinks there's some science behind it. And
Wow.
I could see actually so now let's talk about the trailer. And new policy, guys, just like because of YouTube restrictions and everything, we're not going to be able to from here on out watch any trailers. That's just YouTube policy. Right. To at YouTube.
Yeah.
everyone
Or
right.
to at U.S. government for copyright laws.
Take it up with them. We can't do anything.
But yeah,
about
so
it.
but what we're gonna talk about, we'll look at some photos from it. So let's just like talk through some pictures out of the trailer, and we can take a look at it as we go. So like first up, I put like we see space. This is the cosmic, just like the MCU. Actually, it's interesting timing. The MCU and the X-Men universe are both going cosmic at the same moment.
I like it.
And it looks like this is like we can go to the next photo and we see inside the cockpit, and you've got the team, including Raven, sitting up front there in her X-Men costume,
Yeah.
because that's Jennifer Lawrence got to be a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm not as annoyed by that as most people. I know a lot of people are frustrated by that. I like alternate takes on characters, and this is where the character evolved.
And
Great.
you know, Mystique has been very cooperative at times and been more of a nemesis. I think it's fine. You know,
Yeah.
it's all fluid, as they say.
But you've got like Storm in the back there.
I'm excited to see.
Storm was featured in this trailer,
Yeah.
showing off some lightning powers, which is cool. But it looks like, and I don't have this photo, but it looks like Jean, some kind of accident, dies in space. And that's where the Phoenix Force comes into play. I'm wondering if these scenes in space are pre-apocalypse. I don't think it would because Storm's there.
Yeah, I don't think it would be.
But the Phoenix, but like they showed off the Phoenix Force in Apocalypse, so like it's already with her.
Right. So if she encounters it here, then this would have to be.
My understanding is that their take is there is tremendous potential, tremendous power in Jean Grey. This is right out of the comics, and Xavier puts these blocks on it, so because she'd be too powerful and she wouldn't be able to handle it.
We do see actually, if we could skip ahead,
Yeah.
while you're talking about,
And
just like
so-
two down to the photo, we meet young Jean.
Right.
It's actually number 8. Young Jean. So like very much like if you remember from the first attempt to
The
create
Last
the,
Stand?
do the Dark
We don't
Phoenix
talk
story.
about that movie, guys.
tried
But
not to.
they are but here's the thing is they are playing to the same beats, like
Right.
whether like for better or worse, like we do see a young Charles Xavier meeting a young Jean Grey, and as Christian was saying,
Yeah,
block on her.
and I think the idea is that the Phoenix is actually part of what he's shut off, but then there's this entity that heightens it. So it's a little different than the comic book story. I think it's Uncanny X-Men 100, 101, when you first see her as just regular Phoenix. And as the way it was retconned, she did die in space, and then Phoenix is actually a separate character. But that was not the way it was told at the time.
The same when she encounters a solar flare? Is that so?
Yeah,
That's the same.
It's the same thing. She saves the ship, and in doing so, sacrifices herself because they're all on the spaceship. And then this Phoenix is what comes back, and like, oh wow, Jean has all these powers now, as the way it was written in the 70s.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm curious, like now that they're clearly going for this cosmic thing. Like we meet, sorry, Marissa, I'm gonna jump around a little bit, but on photo 6, we meet Jessica Chastain's character, and she's supposed to be a shape-shifting alien.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which like I don't think they're gonna try to do Skrulls like this.
I don't know that they can.
Well, Fox can technically.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if their rights with Fantastic Four properties prevent them or help them with like taking Fantastic Four things into their X-Men movies, but I don't think it would prevent them from doing that. So technically, because they own the Fantastic Four rights, they could do Skrulls.
Okay.
But they could also just create a shape-shifting alien of any kind. I'd be surprised if they're doing aliens with the Phoenix Force and they don't do Shi'ar.
Yeah, and I see when she was cast, I thought she was going to be Lilandra, but I don't know if the Shi'ar are involved in this. They're not telling us.
Yeah,
they're keeping that out. So I don't know. Maybe they want to simplify the story and just have this shape-shifting alien, and that'll be it. But
to me, that could be a cool way to integrate to do the Dark Phoenix story and make it feel not like the same. You're just doing. Even if you do it better, the same beats as like the last time it was attempted, which Last Stand was not that long ago.
2006?
I think that's right. 2005, 2006.
I know that was a while ago.
No, but it
feels like it wasn't.
What was that, Marissa?
2006.
Yeah,
2006,
it's
okay.
not that many X-Men movies ago.
That's
the other way to look
thing,
at it.
Yeah.
So what I like there's the more recent story, I think it was part of there was a Guardians X-Men crossover a few years ago where the Shi'ar, because they worshipped the Phoenix Force as a god being, when they learn that it has been destroyed by the X-Men, they hold Jean Grey responsible. Oh. And now that's like a lot of like steps to get to, but if you take pieces of that and if they think that maybe she's stolen their god or something like that, then that's why they're coming after her. That to me could be a really interesting take on it. And then that's what activates her powers, and by activating it, it wreaks more havoc on Earth. I know that that's not like a pure comic storyline, but something that I've said on the show before is I like when these movies and these shows take influence from the books and then just make a movie or just make a TV show. Jessica Jones season 2, I think, is the perfect example, where that wasn't a comic book storyline. It was season 2 of the show that they made season 1 from. Season 1 was we did the Kilgrave storyline, we made it for TV. Season 2 was, well, we looked at what we did for season 1 and we continued that story as it would progress for these characters.
Instead of taking another comic book and adapting that storyline.
Yeah, they used like you had like comic book elements where you had like powered characters and they were like they're related and like it feels like a comic, but it wasn't like they didn't take an arc out of a Jessica Jones story and just put it on screen as season 2. So I would love for this version of Dark Phoenix to take the pieces of the character and like what the Dark Phoenix means and like how it affects all the people around Jean Grey, and then just work with that. Build out from that. Make it something new.
Yeah, I mean, it looks from the trailers that they're going to just ignore the entire... Like, the Hellfire Club is actually a very important part of the Dark Phoenix saga because she's manipulated by Mastermind, and when she realizes that's what happened, that's kind of what sets her off, and then there's no going back. That's when she starts deciding to eat planets and things.
Yeah.
So, because she's hungry.
As you do in the Marvel Universe.
Right?
You get really mad, you eat planets. Hello.
I felt like I ate a planet right before the show. But anyway, I think that, I think they're just taking elements. I think it's too hard. Like, even if you only look at the issues that are Dark Phoenix, you still are looking at like 8 comic books, and you can't fit that into a watchable movie. You know,
Mark
Right.
Balam knows exactly the arc I'm talking about, the trial of Jean Grey.
Oh, okay.
I want to ask you guys this because we haven't even asked this. What did you think of the trailer?
Go ahead.
Oh, you're just
Ladies
gonna say
first.
I think that it's good. I know that there were some people that were saying that pulling some of those looks and things that you saw from the X-Men: The Last Stand isn't necessarily what you want to go for with this trailer. I personally think it's fine because it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. You can take some of the elements from it and still have a really good movie. So I'm always going into this like hopefully optimistic, but I liked what I saw in the trailer. It got me like, okay, all right, cool. Maybe I'm going into it with a little more hope.
This looks like if I remove myself from Apocalypse, let's pretend Apocalypse didn't happen.
We all do.
This looks good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this looks like it could be really cool. Like, forget Last Stand ever happened. Forget Apocalypse happened. This looks like it could be a cool X-Men movie. Like, I'm not going to be shy about the fact that I didn't like Apocalypse. I think it was...
No, I
dull
know. I
movie.
think-
It's not good.
We don't need to talk about that. But I think that if they just, like, move forward, which the X-Men movies have been want to do, they sort of don't worry about the continuity as much as, like, the MCU does.
Right, and especially after Days of Future Past, because it's like, yeah, we can literally do anything now,
Yeah.
because the
Well,
timeline was messed up.
Even
Yeah.
the jump from like between like the last one, like Apocalypse was in the 80s, and like
Yeah.
this is it's supposed to be in the 90s,
Yes.
and like that's not how time works, guys.
And they did go back to the 70s in Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
You know, so like each one of these last several movies has been a different decade.
Yeah, Beast is like 40 at this point. I would say like Mystique is even older than that, but she's a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
She can look however she wants.
Young
The
forever.
only one who seems to age properly is Professor X.
And just to your earlier question, I think that this trailer looks great. I've always said I'm very cautiously optimistic about this story because I want it to be good. I want it to be great because I make no bones about the fact that I think that the Dark Phoenix saga is the greatest comic book story ever written. I want it done justice. And this looks really cool. And there's some really nice little effects and things, and some surprising things happen in the trailer that it has me more interested in this specific take. You know, I feel like they could actually have a good movie on their hands, because remember, just because you have reshoots doesn't mean a movie's bad. A lot of movies have reshoots.
I always
Most
go
movies
back
have reshoots.
to Rogue One. Everybody was talking about
Yeah.
how they were worried about the reshoots, and that is still my favorite of the new Star Wars, which is off topic, but still.
Still, yeah, it's a good example. Though. There were
Yeah.
very extensive reshoots on that.
There
yeah.
were, and it came out amazing.
Yeah. Reshoots mean nothing. But, like, I'm going to try to be optimistic towards Dark Phoenix. It's going to be the last, as far as we can tell. Well,
New Mutants.
New
is gonna-
Mutants.
in some fashion, that New Mutants movie, you'll be able to watch it in
Yeah.
a theater or streaming.
Yeah.
You know, direct to VHS. I don't know why they would do that, but you know, maybe
Yeah.
they would.
It does. Marissa, like, read my mind because I was just pulling it up on my computer, like, to take another look at it. But, like, we are going to get more Quicksilver.
Yes!
I was glad to see that.
So excited about that.
We get this shot of him, like, running up debris towards Jean.
Those are some of my favorite scenes, the ones that Quicksilver is in.
Yeah.
Just the way they do it. They do it so well, and I love his character.
Yeah. Quicksilver's a great character. It's like this. I'm like really interested to see what happens post merger, because I don't want to lose Quicksilver.
I know.
But he already did in the MCU.
I know he's dead.
Can we make that something that we fix in
Can
Endgame?
Thanos fix that?
Can Thanos fix that?
But we have
Like,
to get this actor.
Oh, Evan
I
Peters.
actually
Yeah.
like the MCU version.
He's fine.
Aaron Johnson?
I like Evan.
I liked
Peters
him.
better.
I will disagree with you. We are
I'm-
allowed to have different opinions, but I was not upset when he died.
Respectfully disagree.
Yeah, because
Wow.
because Evan Peters is so good. I think that's probably
Yeah,
why. And also, they were like husband and wife in a Godzilla movie, like I had just seen that same year. So the fact that they were suddenly brother and sister really threw him and Scarlet Witch. I was just
You're
like,
like, no.
I'm like, no, that's gross.
I didn't even
just can't.
recognize
Yeah.
that, but I see. To me, they're different takes, and they're both
Totally,
good.
totally different takes.
And I know that it had to be like a handshake deal. Like, all right, we can both use these characters,
Yeah.
but like, we're gonna kill Quicksilver in the MCU, and like you just like don't use Scarlet Witch. Like make her a little girl and like forget she's there.
Yeah.
You can acknowledge her, but like that way it's not super confusing to everybody. Because otherwise, what are the odds that this is how it all shakes out?
Yeah, no, that's definitely.
Like why else would X-Men ignore Scarlet Witch?
Especially having Quicksilver there.
Yeah.
Like, she's not even part of the households or mentioned. Is she even mentioned?
No,
we see her.
she's sitting. It's an Easter egg. It's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
you know that's his little sister, and so then you get it. By the way, Beeping Goat 22 agrees with Zach. I want Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver back! Exclamation point.
I thought, like, look, we didn't get a lot from him in Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron's not a perfect movie, but I wanted to see what else he could do with that character because he intrigued me. Like, he did enough work in that where I was intrigued by his character, and I wanted to see how I wanted him and Hawkeye to keep having their, like, dynamic. I thought, like, yes, it affected Scarlet Witch, but I would love to see how they would behave together going forward with more stuff.
Oh, right. And to something that Xia was alluding to before, the image that we have right now shows the Dark Phoenix half of the poster. It's very reminiscent of like the red leather that Famke Janssen wore.
It
in
totally
Last Stand.
is.
Yes. Well,
I like that, though.
I mean, it was a good look. And obviously, you know, if we're going to play, you know, who wore it better, Famke Janssen wore it better. But anyway, I think that it's cool for the look. You can't give her the Dark Phoenix costume with the bird on it. I mean, you can't have her in that. So yes, this is a great thought for it's not like that's what the problem was with the movie is what she looked like.
No.
You know? So it's fine, but I guess people are a little nervous about the comparisons.
I hope that they do like at least an homage to the bird, other than like the big fire
Right.
thing up in the sky,
Like a lapel pin?
like a lapel pin. I mean, I'm wearing my Doom lapel
Right, exactly.
pin,
That's what made me think of it.
Perfect.
acknowledgement. No, I mean like like an outline, or if it's like burned into the jacket or something like that. I think the X-Men, like, look, if you've got them running around in yellow X's on their uniforms, like,
True.
you've already accepted that these people wear ridiculous costumes,
Yeah.
which I'm totally fine with. Like,
Yeah.
each universe, as far as how it handles costumes, pulls its own rules. Like, the MCU is very functional, for the most part. Like, the few times where it's not, it's like Captain America, the First Avenger, and it's very much based on plot. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
The only exception in the MCU is Spider-Man, and that's just like, whatever, just roll with it.
It's Karen anyway, so it's fine. You know, the Karen suit is...
I just mean like the physical look is like, his original look is like very MCU, where it's just like, it's a hoodie, it's just like what he could make.
Yeah.
And then Tony makes it, and it's a Speedo. It's a skin tight leotard, which in any other for any other character would be absurd. Like, you don't have Scarlet Witch running around like in anything that looks like her
No,
outfit.
but she should have the headdress for sure. The rest of it she doesn't need. But it'd be great if she
Hawkeye's
had it.
not in bright purple,
I wish.
though
What?
he
Come
could
on.
be. He could be.
He could be dressed like Spike
Nothing
Lee at the
wrong with
Oscars.
that.
Come on.
The only other person who dresses in really tight clothes is Black Widow.
Yeah.
That's true.
But that is like at least like justified in the like crazy motions that she goes through.
True.
Which if you
Yeah, she's
put her in a
acrobatic.
coat, she can't move like that.
Yeah.
And it's not like cut weird like it is in the comics too.
Also true.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. So ultimately, what does the chat say? Like, is the chat excited after this trailer to see Dark Phoenix?
Well, some are, but there are those who feel like Fox has already kind of blown the franchise, and they're just kind of waiting for the MCU take on the X-Men, and they give Marvel credit because they think that they won't be so obsessed with the Dark Phoenix storyline, and they won't do it again in another, less than 15 years.
You'll need at least 20 before you can touch Dark Phoenix.
Which I think is
Yeah.
fine. There are plenty of great stories to tell before that. Mark Mark Balam pointed out, because when I said it was the greatest story, this was a little while back, he said, what about God Loves, Man Kills, which is Marvel graphic novel number 5? That's a great story. Essentially, X2 is that story. And that's a great standalone single book, but this was a whole arc, and to me, that's the greatest comic book story. That's just personal preference.
We got to do some more Wolverine solo movies, right? That's what's next for X-Men.
I mean, we'll get as soon as they cast
restart
as soon as they cast new Wolverine, then they'll have to do that as well. But
what if they just cast Ryan Reynolds as Wolverine?
I can't say I'd have a problem with it.
I
and
mean, look.
And they even have, and they never like acknowledge, like, don't you look like Deadpool? I'm like, no, not at all.
What are you talking about? That guy looks like an avocado.
Skunk Ape says The Last Stand was a better X-Men movie than Apocalypse and X-Men Origins. That's setting the bar pretty low. Last Stand is just another mediocre Marvel, and there are plenty of those before Winter Soldier. You don't know if this is the show to say that in the chat, but they're a handful. But I think even a mediocre Marvel movie is still a great movie.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
I
Last
agree.
Stand is not like anything perfect or great, but it's not. I don't think it's horrifying. It's like it's fun. It's got interesting points. Like it's like there are scenes of it I genuinely like rewatching whenever they come up in cable.
I mean, it's one of those movies that when it came out and I watched it, I mean, I forget how old I was. I enjoyed it, but then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that they took the Dark Phoenix story and made it boring. They literally made Jean boring in it. And there was also another storyline, like the Magneto with the Cure that was going on. They were doing too much at the same time. But scenes like going to Jean's house and things like that, I think are, those feel like right out of the comics. There are decent things in it. But on the whole, I think even seeing the movie the first time, I was like, wait, they did this? With that. So, I understand them wanting to have a do-over. I think, obviously, they didn't put it into motion knowing it was going to be their last X-Men movie. But
No, in fact, I believe we talked about it sometime in the last
couple weeks
episodes.
ago. Yeah,
that like they specifically thought that they had another one. They were
Yeah.
planned. So like that'll be really interesting to see. And I expect that it's something related to that the reshoots probably cover it up. That like they built this to have a sequel that they're not going to get. And they know at this point they're not going to get it. It's just that's what happens when a company gets sold.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. Let's jump over and talk Captain Marvel.
Yes.
For a little bit. There's a few things going on. Like I don't know these photos, but Brie Larson walked the red carpet for the premiere and looked stunning. She was wearing this like it looked like if Captain Marvel went to a red carpet. Like,
That's amazing.
It's just like a blue flowing like big trail dress. It like looks like Carol got dressed up.
And look, when Carol like,
amazing.
wrote the magazine, for the weekly magazine or the monthly magazine for the Daily Bugle, she probably did go to a lot of red carpets. So,
And that's what she wore.
Yeah. And I think, look at Marissa going to work finding it. So
Yeah, not the one from the Oscars, but like from the actual Captain Marvel.
Oh, the Captain Marvel
carpet.
premiere. Oh,
like
okay.
it looks. Yeah, that like. It looks so cool.
I do like that.
And I don't know anything about fashion, but I
Don't sell
know
yourself
this looked
short.
great.
Come on.
Hey,
look
you
just
know
like
what?
Wolverine.
You
I just mean the way you're dressed.
the colors.
Fair.
That's exactly a shirt that he would wear.
Yeah, I'm wearing a t-shirt from a tourist trap in Wyoming,
He's probably been
and an orange
Probably is.
an orange plaid shirt. I could be Logan.
You just need a cowboy
that
hat.
dress is beautiful.
Yeah.
That is a great dress. Look at her.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Just don't stand in front of a weather map in that blue.
It's on track for $150 million domestic opening
Saw that.
weekend.
And that's based on pre-sales.
Yeah.
That's why they have that. Because I was wondering that. I'm like, well, how do they know that? And let's see. It's passed all other MCU films in advanced ticket sales except Infinity War and Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
And just to do a little bit of, territorial, like what the other side was doing, it passed Wonder Woman and Aquaman in pre-sales. So
Wow.
those movies both did very well.
And 2 movies I thoroughly enjoyed.
There you go. Not on this show, you didn't. I'm just kidding.
I do
On
want
this
to
show, I hate them. No.
I do want to give a shout out across the aisle to Zachary Levi for a moment, because as part of this, like, there was a lot of issues where there were trolls and like,
Yeah.
because people are freaking assholes.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Pardon my
Yep.
French. But people are also, and like without seeing the movie, they've been writing bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and like
Just why?
it was the reason was something that like people were upset that Brie Larson, she dared to suggest that there be better diversity representation on press junkets.
And I don't think
and,
that's
like,
a bad thing. So
yeah.
I don't really understand
It's
why.
she didn't say like, oh, why did I have to talk to this person? I
No.
don't like talking to this type of, it was just like, she's like, I would love to see more diversity on these junkets.
And
like,
she actually requested to speak with a certain writer when she did an interview who was, I believe, disabled. Is that...
I'm sure that's a whole part of it. Like, and this is the thing, like, she has every right to do this and like to push for diversity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The asking for specific journalists, like if it was a politician, I'd be like, I don't know about that. It's a movie, people. She just wanted to get
Right.
she wanted a person to be able to talk to her about a movie. But people have been trolling, and so the reason I wanted to shout out Zachary Levi is people were like trying to get him involved in this, like, you're gonna have the better Captain Marvel movie, and he went on to Twitter and he did a video post where he was like, are you kidding? Like, there's no rivalry here.
It's
Yeah.
all
Because this
Marvel.
character
Well, no.
used to be called because Shazam used to be called Captain Marvel. You
Oh,
think that
I
I
see,
should
yeah.
wait it, like, I hope Captain Marvel's great. I hope Shazam's great. Like,
Yeah.
everybody can go to both. And like
Yeah.
that
One
was,
month apart. There's plenty of time.
He didn't have
Definitely
to
gonna
do
see
that,
both.
and that's why I think it was a great thing to do. Like, just to be like, stop being like crazy people.
Yeah.
And Rotten Tomatoes has taken an effort to try to stop it, where they've basically any reviews, no non approved critics can post reviews for Captain Marvel until the film has been released.
Well,
Because people
that-
were posting negative reviews
Yeah.
before obviously anybody had seen
And this
it.
isn't the first movie they did it with, but
Yeah.
this is, I think, where this was the breaking point. But Zia and I were texting about that, and
Yeah.
what was your thought when you heard that?
Well, it makes sense. Like, of course you should wait until people have seen the movie before you can review it. How can you review a movie you haven't seen?
Well, there's like early screenings,
Yeah,
and Rotten
fine,
Tomato tends to
but-
let people put those reviews up.
But it's not that big of a deal if you just wait until everyone's seen the movie.
Yeah, because you're
before you
letting too
can-
many people
You're
in.
letting too many, yeah.
And it's motivated by, the things you're talking about. There's the idea that the most powerful character in the MCU is a woman. I mean, there's that narrative. You don't have to look far on Twitter to find that narrative. So I think just all the reasons they're like, yeah, fine, go see the movie. And if you hate it, then please tell us and we will factor that in.
Which is fine. If you legitimately
Yeah.
don't like the movie, that's okay. But if you're saying you don't like it for outside reasons, that...
Yeah.
not a very accurate
people predict
representation of
that
the
the
movie.
movie's going to bomb because they personally don't like Brie Larson. I'm like, oh, well, that you're not even looking at it remotely objectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're
So-
just
Also-
using your own biases.
How do you not like Brie Larson?
I mean, yeah, she's an Academy Award winning actress,
know.
and she wanted to do a Marvel movie. Good for her.
She's just a great actress, regardless.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move in to Marvel TV time.
Marvel movie news. We're talking TV time.
Okay, it's a couple stories this week.
Yes.
One of which I consider a non-story. Because there was like all these news outlets posting this week. Kevin Feige says the Disney Plus shows will be part of the MCU, and all of us, and I'm sure all of you guys
Yeah.
are like, yeah, what?
Yeah, because they're characters from the MCU played by
is
those
that-
actors.
Yep.
This isn't news. Like he made a comment that like it's going to be part of the MCU. He made a comment that like he like offhandedly was like, yeah, it's set in like the past, present, the future of the MCU. Which like the idea is like people are like over analyzing that one statement and be like, oh, because we could have prequel stuff and we could have stuff set in the future. And
Great.
yeah, all of that is on the table. Like
Yes.
that's all he's saying. So sort of a non-story, but just in case you were curious what Kevin Feige's talking about while he's on the Captain Marvel
And
tour.
look, if you're /film or comicbook.com, you put his name in a headline, people are going to click on it. So I get why that's out there, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really news.
Yeah.
you
I
know?
clicked on it.
Yeah, I did
but I
too.
clicked on it so that I could talk to you guys
So
about it.
I
we
click
click on it.
all of these things.
Yeah, we click on it so you don't have to.
Nice.
That's what we do.
Nice.
And let's and then the other story from this week, I'm gonna have to toss to Christian on this one, as I have not caught nearly up. I've gotten caught up on everything else. I finished Cloak and Dagger season 1 finally. Now that we discovered it was on Hulu.
Yes. Did you catch up on Runaway season 2?
Yes, I finished every other thing, but I have not dived into the Gifted yet. So, Gifted news, Christian.
Well, here's the thing: the season finale, and if you watch the other show that Z and I do over in AfterBuzz, Marvel TV Weekly, we have a don't hate quite as much relationship with the Gifted. But I thought that the season finale had a couple of really cool things in it. One of them, Marissa has the photo. You finally get to see John Proudstar as Thunderbird. That's a character you always knew he was. And it was just cool to see him as Thunderbird. There's a good chance this show's not going to get renewed. The ratings are really low. If it continues, it's going to continue a streaming service. But it was really cool to see him as Thunderbird. And then it has a really cool cliffhanger where the character of Blink, whom you thought died not that long ago, just a couple weeks ago, shows up at the end with some fancier powers than you remember her having. Ooh. And every indication is that it's like a Days of Future Past kind of cliffhanger where she's like, I need you guys to come with me. And she opens a portal in a way she never did before. Also, she's not dead. So she's either from the future, another timeline. There's a lot of different ways to explain it. And then they also killed off a major character. They killed off Reed Strucker. But he needed to take out the big baddie of Riva, whom we also don't like. But it ended well. It ended with Lauren and Andy actually doing Fenris, which is what I've wanted from the beginning of the show since we knew what their last name was. So it had some good things in it. It has potential for a third season, but I feel like it really gave me the feel of Iron Fist season 2, where the cliffhanger was so cool, and you'll never get to see what happened because they're not going to make any more.
I wouldn't be opposed to if they did take it off of. Honestly, I think a lot of what bothers me at these shows is that they're on network, and you can't do some of the things that I want to see or do it in the tone that I want to see. I would love to see a third season where they maybe run with the Blink storyline, and have it on a streaming service. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, so for fans of The Gifted, and I know there are people who are very protective of that show. It ended strong, and I guess I should have said spoilers before I said all that stuff, but if you're a fan of The Gifted, you've already watched it. I've decided that that's how I'm going to feel okay about that.
Well, we are trying to be more sensitive. It's hard for us to keep track of like when things have aired, especially overseas.
Also true.
Which I know people are like, warn us spoilers, like, we'll try to be more conscious of the overseas viewers.
Yeah.
Last bit of TV news. It's not on the rundown, but I saw it, luckily, just in time. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., according to Clark Gregg, is likely to end after season 7.
Wow.
We didn't know we were going to get season 6 when that happened, and we suddenly got season 7. It's all gravy at this point. I mean, the show could go on for 20 years if they wanted to, but I also understand 7 is actually when, after a 6th year is when shows usually get really expensive anyway, because usually that's what the contracts you have is for 6 years.
Yeah.
So, with the actors, I mean. So, that's fine. It makes sense.
And season 7, that means that we're getting 2 more seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just for those of you keeping track at home. 2 more! But he said, that's the word I've heard. That doesn't mean it's definitive. But yeah, it could be an expense thing. It could be Disney trying to bring everything towards the Disney Plus, where all of their live action shows go to Disney Plus, and except for the ones that are already floating out there. But I'm still excited. We still got season 6 coming soon, guys. So we'll talk about that.
By the way, with that news, Carlito Lee, Gamer Girl, and Ivan Soto all say the same thing. A very Darth Vader, no, with a lot of exclamation points
in all caps.
But again, we've here's the thing. How many times have you guys heard me say, whether on here or on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show, this is definitely the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I've said it 3 seasons in a row, and then it keeps getting renewed.
7 seasons is also a really good
7
run.
seasons is a super long run, especially when most of these seasons have been 22 episodes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Zeno Hour in the chat says 7 seasons is a fantastic run.
Yeah.
Look, think about your favorite shows. How many of them were awesome in season 8? You don't have to answer that question. Just think about that for a second, all right? So 7 years is great. If we know we're going to get 7 years.
Smallville season 8. Oh, wait. All right, so as we wind down the last few 9 or 10 minutes of our show, we're going to introduce our new segment, which we don't have any intro stuff for yet. Wink, wink, audience. But hold on, I'm going to do this right here. It's Doom's Siri.
Yeah, Siri.
Doom is talking here.
Siri was scared.
You scared Siri.
Yeah, you did,
That's
actually.
so funny.
Doom's Question Corner. Which I'm going to take this off so you can actually hear me.
Yeah, but Doom is relaying. Doom's in your ear, and he's telling you the answers.
Oh, totally.
He's letting you hold his phone.
Yeah, I have my gauntlet on. So we're gonna call this Doom's Question Corner because we really do want to talk to you guys and make you as much a part of the show as we are. So every week, whatever questions you have on any Marvel topic, we will do our best to answer. Obviously, Marvel's even a wide topic in and of itself.
Sure, yeah.
So as best we can. So we're gonna take your questions now. Chris, if you guys start putting in the chat, Christian will keep an eye on stuff.
Right now, even if you asked this question already, put it in the chat right now because I'm scrolling and looking for earlier ones.
Easy
right
way
now,
to do it. Lead your thing with all capital letters, question, colon, and then your question.
Yes, exactly.
But if you want to ask us questions throughout the week, you can do that by emailing, and I just set this up before the show, doomsquestioncorner@gmail.com.
I can't believe it wasn't taken. That was the thing that surprised me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a new thing. The Doom's Conspiracy Corner got too many questions from higher up bodies, and I had to quietly just promise to keep him quiet. But Doom's Question Corner, we will be that way we can talk to you guys every week. Christian,
Our first question is from Ivan Soto. And Zia won't be able to answer this, but what was the moment where you knew you'd stick with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. forever? I'm going to let Zach answer this first.
the pilot. No, I mean I like the show from the get-go. Yes, the first 10 episodes or so are not like the strongest of the show.
Yeah.
But I still liked it for right away. But the moment where they tied into Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
they had me from the start, and then like re-upped it. Like the MCU tie-in started to like fade away a little bit as like Perlmutter and Feige just continued to hate each other. It's the truth.
Yeah, I know. That's why I left.
But and then they really renewed my faith in the show. Not that they ever really lost it, but when Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
So those are my two big moments.
I'm gonna be a little bit more honest. Is that I was never gonna stop watching the show, but there are times where I really let it pile up in the DVR because I just wasn't as invested in. I loved the characters. I always loved the characters, but the framework in particular is the one time where I was like, okay, we get it, enough. But Ghost Rider, I know that was before that. Ghost Rider, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. But I think season 1 ended so strong where I was like, all right, I know what they're capable of. I'm just going to trust them. I'm going to be along for the ride. And sometimes I did fall behind, mostly because it was a network show, as Zach mentioned, with 22 episodes. But it was at the end of season 1, getting to see Deathlock and Bill Paxton, just all that stuff coming together at the end of the season. I was like, oh, yeah, this was great. Because I thought it was good before that. But that's the first time I'm like, this show can be great. So at the end of season 1.
I like this one from Joshua Wright. What movie do you guys most want to see Marvel announce next? And I'm going to limit this for you guys. No sequels. What original movie do you most want to see next in the MCU?
I'm stealing a little bit just from here because I also saw this. And from Gamer Girl, do you think we'll still see Adam Warlock in the MCU? I would like to see an Adam Warlock movie.
I would love an Adam Warlock movie, and I feel like he's probably planned, to be introduced through the Guardians because of the end of Guardians 2. Yeah, an Adam Warlock movie would certainly be great. Barring any, my short answer at the top of my list is a good Fantastic Four movie. That's what I want more than anything.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. So anything else that I would say would be below that on the list. So I'm just going to say a great Fantastic Four movie. They deserve it.
Yeah. I'm sort of breaking the stipulation that I put, but I think it stands up. I want to see a solo Mark Ruffalo Hulk
I would
movie.
love that.
Oh, yeah. That's not
I know
really
that we
a
got
sequel,
Incredible
but,
Hulk,
yeah.
but like I want to see Mark Ruffalo have his chance to headline.
Yeah.
Look, there's enough money
Really
to go
good,
around.
too.
Let Universal has to get in on that, and that's fine. Let them make one. It's fine. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I stand like Hulk movies are tough, especially now that you've got like intelligent Hulk running around.
Yeah.
But if you can force him once he comes back, because we still don't know like what he's gonna look like.
Yeah.
When in Endgame when he eventually shows back up, I still think a Red Hulk movie would be phenomenal. I think that the political intrigue
cool.
version of like who is this imposter, especially if here's what it is: Hulk saves the day. In Endgame, the world is suddenly back on Hulk's side, or like tentatively on his side. Then the Red Hulk shows up and is like, "You can't trust the Hulk. He's a monster.
Yeah.
I'm the good Hulk," and basically squashing Bruce Banner's like the good name he's carved out for himself. And then Bruce has to launch into proving that he's not the monster. This Red Hulk is a bad guy.
I would love to see that movie. Because we only have 3 minutes, let me go to the next one. From Langley M. Neely, what character do you not want in the MCU?
Squirrel Girl.
What?
Sorry.
Whoa!
Sorry.
Such a quick answer. I have a different New
Sorry,
Warriors
Zach.
answer. Speedball. Worst character ever. And I know Steve Ditko created him, but it was an older Steve Ditko who didn't know any better. Yeah, so he immediately comes to mind.
I don't know who I don't want because I think that like all these characters have great potential.
Yeah, I mean,
if
Speedball's in a movie, I'm going to go see it. And I was joking before the show that I wouldn't watch a Squirrel Girl show. I'll watch it, but yeah.
Because like even like you throw like some of the weirder ones, like I would totally watch like Hercules show up in the MCU. But like, who do I think would not adapt well to a movie? Can I say Morbius?
Yeah, I mean, sure, because I know that's Sony. I mean, I'm intrigued, but I don't have confidence. And the way people feel about Dark Phoenix, that's how I feel about Morbius. I'm like, man, if they figure out how to make that work, good for them.
Yeah, come on, Langley, let's keep it positive.
Sorry, I just wanted to say Squirrel Girl.
But I think that's going to do it for today's show. But keep sending us questions, guys. We obviously will not be able to get to everyone every week.
And these ones in the chat, I'm gonna look at after the fact.
Yeah, and we'll hang on to the ones
we
can talk about. And as I said, email what you guys want us to talk about to doomsquestioncorner@gmail.com. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Christian and Xia. This is a blast today.
Always fun.
I had a fun time. I always love
fun.
breaking out the gauntlet. Thank you guys for joining us so much. As we said at the top of the show, like, subscribe, comment, review, all those things. It helps the podcast, helps out us, helps other Marvel fans find the show. It's a great way to just like let other people get in on the fun. So until next week, Christian, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram @ChristianDMZ, and you can find Xia and myself on Sunday nights over on AfterBuzz TV. We do Marvel TV Weekly. We'll really dive into that gifted finale and any of the other news. That's Sundays at 9 Pacific.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram @Xia_Land. It's XIA_Land. And on Facebook @Xia Anderson.
And I'm Zach Wilson. Find me on Twitter and Instagram @ThatZachWilson. And also check out my other podcast, Ships in the Night, where we take random characters from different universes and ship them, see what their romantic relationships would look like. This week, I know I got one you guys would be interested in, because we did Beast from the X-Men shipped with Tony the Tiger of Frosted Flakes fame.
Sounds great.
It got political and like weirdly like deep into like some House of Cards stuff.
Oh, I like it.
It's so much fun. Check it out. Podcast places, Ships in the Night. Guys, until next week.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro.
This has been Marvel Movie News.
Bye.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.